Enveloped by 5 West African countries, Ivory Coast is hosting what could be described as one of the best African Cup of Nations tournaments since 1957. The fans, the food, the infrastructure, and the shocking performances of Minos at the tournament are not only remarkable but historic. However, all these come with a price. The cost of living is extremely high. The cost of accommodation, feeding, transportation, and internet has sent many packing. Abidoi Babatunde Blackwell is a Nigerian journalist who is on his way out to be with
When it comes to the accommodation and also feeding, everything is very high because when you add make the value of naira currency to CFA, that's the Cote d'Ivoire currency, is very shabby because it's really affecting we journalists, especially me here in Ivory Coast. Concerning the accommodation, for a journalist coming all the way from Nigeria, being an international journalist coming from Nigeria to Ivory Coast, I spent 30,000 CFA, equivalent to Nigerian money of 60,000 naira every day. And also for transportation, I might be moving from one place to other place, like let me just say 2 to 3 kilometers, and I spend 10,000 CFA, which is very hard for me. Like,
According to him, many Nigerian journalists have already left, and he will be following suit.
and I can also let you know and be assured of you that some journalists in Nigeria have already left Ivory Coast. Like me also, I'm planning to also leave.
For Dillian, who works for the Cameroon Tribune, the cost of accommodation is fairly relative, but feeding and transportation are the real killers.
Abidjan on the 10th of January, and later on I moved to Yamoussoukro a day later. So Yamoussoukro generally was not expensive. Feeding was okay, was not too expensive. But when I came down to Abidjan, I realized that just transport fare was really expensive. And then the traffic equally, there's a difference between Yamoussoukro and Abidjan. There's a lot of traffic here in Abidjan, which is causing us a lot of problems to live from one place to the other. In terms of food, food is equally very expensive here in Abidjan. Anyway, it's a time of a competition, and it's normal that prices get a little bit higher since the demand is high. Accommodation is good; it just depends on your means. But I think in terms of lodging, they have a good sense of building. I think so. They have a good sense of decoration. Their houses are really good to live in if you have the means. Yeah.
Femi, the news guru, is another Nigerian journalist we spoke to.
I've been here for 2 weeks. This is the 16th day that I got here. The living condition is relative. Some things are cheap, some are expensive. One very expensive thing that I've noticed is transportation. And not the public transportation, but the private, the Yongos, the taxi. It's been hectic, very expensive for us. When it comes to food, well, it depends. Some are cheap, some are expensive. So it depends on choice. However, the only problem I have is that our naira has really been devalued, and so the CFA is twice as powerful uh, than the naira, and so that has really affected us. So whatever we are buying here, we multiply it by two, and it becomes big in my country, Nigeria. So that is one of the problems we're facing here. But apart from that, I think food is cheap. Another thing that is expensive is accommodation. Oh my goodness, people are paying through their noses for accommodation, 20,000 sefa, 25, 30. And for myself, who came from Nigeria, if I multiply that by two, that is a whole lot.
Ghanaian journalist Akosua Ejei, who works with Ghana Television, admits the harsh conditions. He seems to have developed a strategy of surviving in Ivory Coast.
And when you're trying to get accommodation, transportation, like transportation really costs very high. You're paying from thousands on very few occasions where you pay like 700s and 800s. That's when you're even using the taxis, and maybe for the boat you're paying like 300, 150. But when you decide to use Uber, Yango, they really do cost a lot. Getting accommodation, boy, bruh, it's like so expensive. But I have, once again, I have tried, because I'm sure if I do that by now, I'll be at Telugu heading back home, because no, I wouldn't be ready to spend the kind of money that I have spent. But at least just because we prepared that we're coming and we stay for as long as we can.
Africans are not the only ones complaining. Alex Sismich, a freelance journalist from Bosnia, based in Italy, had this to say.
Yeah, I must say that it's. I didn't expect Abidjan and in general Ivory Coast to be so expensive. It's. I know that maybe probably for many African journalists coming from different African countries, it might be expensive, but this is also very expensive for European journalists coming from the most developed European countries. Like it's the cost of life of living here is very high. I almost spent 1,250 euros for my accommodation for 1 month, for the whole month. This is crazy because it's I'm talking about a one bedroom apartment, um, and then I think that the fact that, for example, a big international media such as the BBC sent half of the staffers they sent to Cameroon a couple of years ago speaks volumes about how much the life costs in Ivory Coast. When it comes to food, it's also very expensive, so that's why I decided to rely on street food in the neighborhood I'm staying in, which is Trashville, a very popular neighborhood I really like. So it's usually on average maybe around 2,500 FCFA, or 3,000, maybe even 1,000 for sandwiches. So yeah, since it's very expensive, I decided to stay in Abidjan when I have to get my lunch or dinner, and to stay, sorry, in Trashville.
A New York-based photojournalist, Matthew Start, is paying $2,400 on accommodation for only 14 days.
Uh, yeah, like I got here a couple days ago. We moved to our accommodation. I paid 2,400 US dollars for it for around 3 weeks. It's in Kokodi. Um, it's kind of far, and getting there is not the easiest thing. We have a driver. Me and my business partner, we have a driver. So yeah, that's how we get around. So I've been very lucky because I came with a friend of mine from the United States who's Ivorian. So we've been with his family the majority of the time. So I really haven't had to pay that much food. He leaves in a couple of days, so I'm gonna have to figure myself out after that. Um, but yeah, I haven't paid that much. It hasn't been that, honestly. Like even the places that we've been to, it hasn't been that expensive. Like I've probably taken out 200 US dollars and spent 15 of it so far. Yeah, it's not bad.
CEO for Sieno TV, Sheikh Tofik Sieno, is spending 6,500 Ghana cedis on accommodation only for 16 days, something that can be spent on accommodation in Ghana for 2 weeks. For me, I think I got it all wrong. I was thinking that for a West African country, it would have been quite affordable as we have things in Ghana. Accommodation here, in all honesty, is extremely expensive. Um, I've had to spend, about $550 on accommodation for just about 2 weeks, and that's quite expensive. If you to convert that in Ghana, we are getting close to about 6,500 or more. less than a month on accommodation alone. In terms of transportation, yes, where I stay in Cocody, which is quite a distance from Treshville, where the media center is. So commuting from Cocody to the media center also costs a lot. Sometimes you get it as low as 2,500 safer. At another time, you get it as high as 5,000 safer, moving in and out. So it's been quite a handful when it comes to the conditions here. Internet data, in all honesty, I think for that one, when you compare to Ghana, I think internet is quite okay here. When I bundled for 1,500 safer, I've still been using it for quite about a week now, and I think internet is okay. Transportation, feeding, and accommodation is what is really breaking our necks here, and I think that Cote d'Ivoire is quite expensive compared to how we might have thought, before coming here.
So, if you are planning to move to Ivory Coast to watch the African Cup of Nations, you don't only need financial strength, you need financial